Welcome back, dear friends, to our sanctuary of the hidden and the profound. Tonight, as you prepare for deep sleep, we are entering a vault of rust, gears, and deep-sea silence. This is a sleep story designed for deep relaxation and historical immersion. This is a bedtime story for the restless, a journey to the bottom of the Mediterranean where a skeleton of bronze was found hiding a secret that would rewrite the history of human intelligence. Settle into your blankets, let the weight of the day fade as we unlock Vault 26. Imagine, if you will, walking through the cool, silent corridors of our museum. The floor beneath your feet is made of dark, polished stone that reflects the dim amber light of the sconces on the walls. Tonight, the air is heavy and damp, carrying the scent of salt air, old copper, and the cold metallic smell of a shipwreck that has spent 2 millennia in the dark. We are moving past the halls of marble and gold, deeper into the foundations of the building where the light grows softer. We are standing before a door made of thick, riveted iron, green with age and sea salt corrosion. You can feel the cold radiating from the metal. In the center of the vault, resting on a pedestal of dark glass, is a fragment of a machine. At first glance, it looks like a jagged piece of rock, encrusted with the remains of sea creatures and the hard, calcified shells of the deep. But as you lean closer, peering through the cracks of the corrosion, you can see the glint of a gear, a tiny bronze tooth from a wheel that turned before the birth of the modern world. This is our key. This is a ghost of a technology that was lost and forgotten until a group of terrified divers found it in the sand. Tonight, we are traveling to the treacherous waters off the island of Antikythera in the spring of 1900. We are going to explore the analog ghost, the mystery of the Antikythera Mechanism. Let us begin our meditation on the clockwork of the gods. 1. The Storm and the Diver, a discovery in the dark. To understand the machine, we must first go down into the deep. We must leave the warmth of the sun and the safety of the shore. Imagine a group of sponge divers from the island of Simi. These were men who lived by the rhythm of the waves, their skin darkened by the Aegean sun, and their lungs toughened by the crushing pressure of the sea. In the spring of 1900, they were headed home after a long season, their boat laden with sponges. But the Mediterranean is a fickle god. A fierce storm rose without warning, a wall of gray water and screaming wind that drove their small vessel off course. For days, they battled the elements until they were forced to take shelter in a small rocky cove off the tiny, isolated island of Antikythera. When the winds finally calmed, the air became eerily still. The water in the cove was a perfect, translucent turquoise. One diver, a man named Elias Stadiatis, decided to descend, hoping to find sponges in the unexplored depths. He donned his heavy copper helmet, his canvas suit, and his weighted lead boots. He stepped off the ladder and began to sink. Imagine that descent. The light from above fades from bright gold to a soft, shimmering blue. The surface of the water becomes a distant silver ceiling. The only sound is the rhythmic, metallic hiss of the air being pumped through the hose and the steady, echoing thud of your own heart. Elias reached the bottom, 60 meters down, where the pressure is immense and the light is a ghostly twilight. He looked across the seafloor, and what he saw made him signal frantically to be pulled back to the surface. He did not find sponges. He found a field of corpses. But they were not men. They were statues. Huge, over-life-sized figures of bronze and marble scattered across the sand like giants fallen in a prehistoric battle. There were horses, heroes, and gods, their limbs half buried in the silt. This was the remains of a Roman treasure ship, a massive galley that had been carrying the stolen art and the unimaginable wealth of Greece to the palaces of Rome 2,000 years ago. As you settle into your bed, imagine that underwater graveyard. It is a place of absolute peace. The statues are sleeping in the silt, protected by the heavy weight of the ocean. The water is cool and silent. You are just as still. You are just as safe. You are sinking into the deep blue of your own rest. 2. The recovery, the weight of ancient marble. The recovery of the Antikythera wreck was the first major underwater archaeological expedition in history, and it was a task of Herculean proportions. For months, the divers returned to the site. Imagine the physical toll of working at 60 meters deep. These men had no modern diving computers, no decompression chambers. They had only their bravery and their heavy copper helmets. They worked in the dim light, tied to the surface by a single airline, surrounded by the shadows of the past. They began to haul up the treasures. First came the marble statues, huge, heavy figures that had been eroded by the salt water until they looked like jagged rocks. Then came the bronzes, including the magnificent Antikythera youth, a statue of such perfection that it seemed almost alive. Among these masterpieces was a small, unassuming lump of calcified bronze. It was no bigger than a shoebox, and it was so heavily corroded that it looked like a piece of the ship's hull, or perhaps a simple ballast weight. It was covered in the hard green crust of the sea and filled with the sand of 2 millennia. Compared to the towering marble gods, this small box was ignored. It was crated up with the rest of the minor finds and taken to the National Archaeological Museum in Athens. There, it sat in a dark storage room for nearly 2 years. The world was obsessed with the statues, with the art, and with the gold. No one suspected that the most important object in the world was sitting in a crate, drying out in the Athenian heat. Think of that forgotten box. It is resting in the dark, away from the eyes of the world. It is a secret waiting for its moment. You are like that artifact tonight. You have put away the public version of yourself. You are resting in the quiet dark of your own room, away from the noise and the demands of the day. You are waiting for nothing. You are simply being. 3. The cracking of the shell, Phalaerios Stias. The secret finally revealed itself on a warm afternoon in May, 1902. An archaeologist named Valerios Stias was walking through the storage rooms, inspecting the finds from the wreck. He noticed the small green lump. As the bronze had dried over the months, the salt and the corrosion had contracted, causing the artifact to crack open. Stias leaned in, his eyes widening behind his spectacles. Inside the green crust, he did not see bone or stone. He saw a gear wheel, not a crude, heavy wheel from a grain mill or a primitive pump, but a tiny, delicate gear with triangular teeth, perfectly machined and barely a millimeter thick. He saw inscriptions in ancient Greek carved into the bronze plates. He saw the remains of a complex, three-dimensional web of clockwork. The world of archaeology stood still. The discovery was impossible. According to every history book ever written, gearwork of this complexity did not exist in the ancient world. It would not appear again for another 1,000 years in the great clock towers of medieval Europe or the intricate watches of the Renaissance. It was as if someone had found a pocket watch in the tomb of a pharaoh or a printed book in a cave from the Stone Age. The Antikythera Mechanism was a ghost, a technology that had leaped forward through time and then vanished, leaving only this one corroded witness. As you breathe in and out, imagine that small green gear. It is a masterpiece of human thought. It is the proof that our ancestors were far more brilliant than we give them credit for. Feel the precision of those bronze teeth in your mind. They are perfectly aligned. They are waiting to turn. But for now, they are still. They are at rest. Your own mind is just as precise, and tonight it is just as still. 4. The Clockwork of the Gods, 37 Gears. What was inside the analog ghost? It would take a century of technology, including advanced X-ray scans and three-dimensional CT imaging, to look through the corrosion and see the heart of the machine. Inside that small bronze box were at least 37 individual gears. This was not a simple toy. It was an ancient computer. It was an analog machine of such breathtaking sophistication that it defies our modern understanding of the Greeks. Imagine the device when it was new. It would have been housed in a beautiful wooden case with bronze dials on the front and the back. By turning a small hand crank on the side, a user could move forward or backward in time. As the crank turned, the gears inside would begin their silent, metallic dance. On the front dial, a pointer tracked the position of the sun and the moon through the zodiac. It showed the phase of the moon, whether it was a silver sliver or a full, glowing orb. But the machine did more. It tracked the 5 planets known to the ancients: Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. It calculated their retrograde motions, the strange, looping paths they appear to take in the sky. To do this, the ancient engineers had to use epicyclic gearing, gears mounted on other gears, to replicate the complex geometry of the heavens. Think of those gears now. Imagine them turning silently, smoothly, in the dark. There is no friction, there is no noise. Each tooth is a second of time. Each wheel is a cycle of the stars. The universe is a machine, and you are resting at its very center. The crank has stopped turning now. The gears are locked in a moment of perfect alignment. The sun is at rest in the house of the stars. The moon is still. Your own internal cycles are slowing down, matching the ancient rhythm of the mechanism. You are moving into the fixed state of sleep. You are perfectly balanced. 5. The prediction of eclipses, the Saros dial. The back of the machine was even more complex. It featured 2 large spiral dials that tracked the vast cycles of time. One of these was the Saros dial, a 4-vein spiral that covered a period of 18 years. This was used to predict eclipses. The machine didn't just tell you when an eclipse might happen, it told you the exact hour, the direction the shadow would move, and even the color the moon would turn, whether it would be a deep blood red or a pale dusty gray. Imagine the power of such a device. In a world where an eclipse was seen as a terrifying omen from the gods, the person who held this machine could see the future. They could see the shadow of the earth reaching out into space long before it happened. There was a second spiral, the Metonic dial, which synchronized the solar year with the lunar months. It was a bridge between the 2 great lights of the sky. It ensured that the calendars of the city-states remained in harmony with the seasons. Think of that harmony. The sun and the moon, moving in their different speeds, were brought into a single, perfect mathematical relationship by the bronze gears. This is the harmony you are seeking tonight. The balance between your waking mind and your dreaming mind. The gear system is shifting now, moving you from the light of the day into the soft silver light of the moon. You are in sync with the universe. You are in harmony with the night. 6. The shadow of Archimedes, the mastermind. Who could have built such a thing? Who possessed the genius to turn abstract mathematics into physical metal? The trail of the analog ghost leads us back to the great centers of Greek learning, Rhodes and Syracuse. Many historians believe the genius behind this technology was none other than Archimedes. Roman records tell us that Archimedes built planetaria, mechanical spheres that could replicate the motions of the sun, the moon, and the planets. When Archimedes was killed by a Roman soldier during the siege of Syracuse, his mechanical wonders were taken as war booty to Rome. Is it possible that the Antikythera Mechanism was a later, more portable version of his work? Or perhaps it was designed by the great astronomer Hipparchus, who lived on the island of Rhodes. The machine contains a specific gear system designed to replicate the irregular motion of the moon, the way it speeds up and slows down as it orbits the Earth. This was a theory that Hipparchus himself pioneered. The machine is the physical proof of his equations. Think of the intelligence required to build this. It wasn't just about craftsmanship, it was about vision. The person who made this saw the stars not as distant random lights, but as a grand mechanical dance. Imagine that mastermind at work. They are sitting in a room filled with the smell of cedar shavings and oil. They are sketching circles in the sand. They are filing the bronze teeth by hand, one by one, with a focus that is absolute. They are obsessed with the symmetry of the cosmos. You are the beneficiary of that symmetry tonight. The stars are in their right places. The earth is turning slowly beneath you. The master has finished the machine. The work is done. You can rest. 7. The Olympic Dial, a human connection. The Antikythera Mechanism was not just an abstract tool for philosophers. It was connected to the pulse of human life. On one of the smaller subsidiary dials, researchers found a list of names that surprised them. They weren't names of stars or gods. They were the names of the great Pan-Hellenic games: Nemea, Pythia, Isthmia, and Olympia. The machine tracked the 4-year cycle of the Olympics. It told the people when to gather, when to compete, and when to celebrate. It connected the spinning of the distant planets to the running of the athletes in the stadium. It showed that for the Greeks, the heavens and earth were part of the same clockwork. Imagine the owner of this device. They would have been a person of immense wealth and even greater curiosity. Perhaps a governor, a merchant prince, or a traveling scholar. On a warm summer night, they would take the machine out onto a balcony overlooking the Mediterranean. They would look up at the sprawling canopy of the Greek stars, and then they would look down at the bronze box in their hands. They would turn the crank and feel the weight of the bronze. They would hear the soft click of the future. They would see that the universe was not chaotic or frightening, but orderly and beautiful. Think of that order now. It is a comforting thought. The world is not random. The sun will rise. The moon will turn. The seasons will follow. You are part of that grand cycle. You are safe within the rhythm of the universe. You are resting in the palm of history. 8. The heart of the mechanism, the differential gear. At the very center of the Antikythera Mechanism lies a masterpiece of engineering that shouldn't have existed for another 1800 years, the differential gear. In modern times, we use differential gears in the rear axles of our cars. It is a system that allows two different inputs, like the speed of two different wheels, to be combined into a single output. The Greeks used this to calculate the age of the moon, the difference between the solar year and the lunar month. It is a mathematical miracle in bronze. It allowed the user to see exactly how many days had passed since the last new moon, simply by combining the motions of the sun and the moon gears. Think of that balance. Two different speeds, two different lights, brought together by a single set of bronze teeth. This is the balance you are seeking tonight. The balance between your waking mind and your dreaming mind. Your waking mind has been fast and bright, like the sun. Your dreaming mind is becoming soft and silver, like the moon. The differential gear is shifting now. The input of your day is fading away, and the output is a deep, dreamless rest. The mechanism is perfect. The alignment is complete. You are in the center of the gear. you are perfectly still. 9. The ghost in the machine, the lost technology. The most haunting part of the mystery is not how it was built, but how it was lost. After the ship sank off the coast of Antikythera, this incredible technology vanished from the human record. For more than 1,000 years, humanity forgot how to make complex gears. We returned to the simple shadows of the sundial and the dripping water of the clepsydra. We lost the analog ghost. Why did it disappear? Perhaps the knowledge was too specialized, held only by a few master craftsmen whose workshops were destroyed in the wars that consumed the ancient world. Perhaps the Roman elite saw them only as toys rather than the revolutionary computers they were. Whatever the reason, the machine sat in the silt, a lonely skeleton of a forgotten future. It waited for 2,000 years, through the rise and fall of empires, through the Dark Ages and the Crusades, through the invention of the steam engine and the electric light. Imagine the machine sitting in the dark of the ocean floor. The fish swim past the bronze dials. The currents move the sand over the gears, burying them deeper and deeper. It is a sleeping beauty made of metal. Tonight, you are that sleeping ghost. You have turned off the mechanism of your day. The gears of your worries have been disconnected. You are sinking into the quiet silt of the night. You are waiting for nothing. You are safe in the deep, cool blue. 10. The bronze inscriptions, the manual of the stars. The machine was covered in text, thousands of tiny characters, some only a millimeter tall, carved into the bronze plates. This was not just a tool, it was an encyclopedia. These were the instructions. They explained the theory of the planets and the cycles of the moon. It was a book of the heavens written in metal. Even through the heavy corrosion, modern scholars using special light imaging can read the words for sun, stationary, and retrograde. The machine was a bridge between the abstract math of the Greek philosophers and the physical world of the people. It proved that the universe could be understood. It proved that we could map the infinite. Imagine the scribe who carved those letters. Their hand was steady. Their eyes were sharp. They were writing a message to a future they would never see. As you drift closer to sleep, let your own thoughts become like those bronze inscriptions. They are becoming smaller. They are becoming faint. The soft corrosion of sleep is slowly covering the words. You don't need to read them anymore. You don't need to understand. The manual for the night is simple. Breathe, release, and fade. The metal is turning to velvet. The words are becoming silence. 11. The fragility of knowledge, a meditation. The Antikythera Mechanism is a reminder of how fragile our knowing truly is. It teaches us that progress is not always a straight line. Sometimes we move forward, and then we slip back into the dark. We are the inheritors of 1,000 lost secrets, of cities buried in the sand and machines buried in the sea. But there is a strange comfort in that. It means that the things we lose can be found again. It means that the gears of history are always turning, even when we can't hear them. Think of your own knowledge tonight. You have learned so much today. You have carried so many facts and so many feelings, but tonight you can let them go. You don't need to hold on to them. They are being archived in the deep storage of your mind. They are safe. They will be there when you wake. But for now, you are returning to a state of pre-technology. You are returning to the simple, ancient rhythm of the breath. You are returning to the time before the gears. You are just a soul resting in the dark. 12. The Museum Night, Returning the Artifact. It is time now to leave the analog ghost and return to the silence of our museum. The fragment of the mechanism on its dark glass pedestal is still. The green corrosion seems to glow faintly in the moonlight. The gears are silent. The stars on the dials have reached their final positions for the night. We walk back toward the iron door of Vault 26. The smell of the sea and the metallic tang of the bronze stay behind. We hear the heavy, rhythmic thud of the door closing, sealing the mechanism back into the dark. The corridor of the museum is dark. The white statues of the Antikythera wreck are now only pale ghosts in your mind. The divers have gone home. The storm has passed. You have found the hidden clockwork of your own peace. You are weightless. You are silent. The deep blue water is a distant hush in your ears. You are sinking into the safe, dark sand of the past. And so, dear friends, we leave the analog ghost and return to the world of the present. We carry the symmetry of the gears within us, the silent, rhythmic pulse of the ancient stars. As you drift off, feel the clockwork of the universe surrounding you. You are part of a long, beautiful, and eternal history. Sleep well, dear friends, and find rest in the heart of the Antikythera mechanism. Good night.